Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Final Whistle here on the Bama Standard Network. Smash that like, subscribe button. Follow us at all the locations at the bottom of the screen: Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Tune in. We got an action-packed show tonight. You see, I got my good friends here. Starting to my immediate right, the one and only our lead recruiting analyst, Dan James. How are you, sir?
Roll Tide, everyone. It's huge Tuesday night. It's draft week. Draft week is here. Let's get it.
Draft week is here. We're gonna dive right into it. And ladies and gentlemen, my main man, Mr. Luscion Graves. How are you, sir?
I'm good this week. It's going to be a big week for Alabama, not just in the draft, but especially in the draft. I feel like we're going to make a splash there. I feel like we're going to also make a splash in recruiting. And if everybody plays their cards right, we might even get a surprise in the transfer portal. But it's Tuesday. Let's get it on. Roll Tide.
It's Tuesday. Let's get it on. Roll Tide. And right below Mr. Luscion Graves, the guy who's in the sunny Texas right now. Birds chirping in the background. Our insider from Around the Table Sports, the one and only Ty Hayes. How are you, sir?
Took time out of my busy schedule training pigeons to be here with all of you fine people this evening. So excited to talk.
I like it. And ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, my guy, who, they're thinking about retiring his jersey on the strip, the one and only Daniel Pettey.
Here with you. Look, Justin made a crazy face. Could y'all hear that growling?
No.
Could you hear the growl? Justin could hear it. The growling you're hearing, I've got my window open. It's mating season for the Gators. That's an alligator growling right now. If you hear the motor going. Sorry, I know we don't like background noises. I normally would have cut that out, but not very often you got a gator growling outside your window. So it's mating season. Watch out for the gators in Florida.
You see the video of the gators that was on the Ring camera?
Oh, yeah, there's two of them trying to get that's down in
funny.
Sarasota, just south of me. That's my intro for the night. Sorry, I've got mating gators outside my window. Take me to the strip.
Well, listen, guys. That's the crew.
Mating Gators.
We're excited to have a great show. Mating Gators, NFL draft, transfer portal news. We're going to get all into it. And listen, if you want to have great landscaping and maybe prevent a few gators from mating on your lawn, have a few nice rock stones, go to Lamstone Inc. and get your rock landscaping needs taken care of. Pettey, tell us more about Real Rock Stone.
Real Rock Stone. Like my man said, look, keep those mating gators off your porch with some of that natural stone to maybe build a, nice little way to block. But or if you want some stone for that house, the place to go is Lamstone Company, realrockstone.com. They're located in Aniana, Alabama, one of the oldest, most trusted sources in the state. Tell them we sent you using the promo code the Bama Standard and get 10% off your purchase today. But yes, if you're trying to build that dream home and no time to waste, get that stone for it today. Go to Lamstone, realrockstone.com.
How about them Gators? I'm the only Gators we'll be talking about here on this show. So, guys, we had a pretty the transfer portal opened last week. I know I'm kind of going out of order, but I kind of want to cover Alabama news before we get to the draft. Transfer portal, the spring portal opened last week. Saw a few walk-ons. I kind of want to discuss that after you guys go around the horn. But can we talk about, potential needs that Alabama is kind of looking at? And I'll start with Luscion Graves on, I believe they brought in tight end he's going to take a visit. Brody Dalton, he's either Alabama, North Carolina. I forgot who the other school was. Dan, I want to get your thoughts on this type of guy. I know we're loaded with, well, not loaded per se, but we got some young talent. Marshall Pritchard recovering from injury. Caleb Edwards, big time tight end, is going to be here in the summer. Just want to get your thoughts on, why we're kind of looking at this position and Brody Dalton.
Well, yes, due to unfortunate circumstances, injuries during the spring and everything, we had a lot of guys out. We actually had, one scholarship tight end that went through spring, Jay Lindsey. So, there is a need. Caleb Edwards hasn't made it to campus yet. So, so these reasons just make sense for Alabama to bring in an inline guy. We're using offensive linemen, walk-ons at the position. So, bringing in a guy like Brody Dalton, who's actually supposed to be visiting today. He was on campus today. Bringing him in, just made sense. In-state guy, played at Troy. So, he has, big-time college experience. Not a big stat guy, but a guy that, made sense after Alabama did his due diligence with talking with him and people around him. You're muted.
Sorry, Luscion. I said I want to hear your thoughts regarding this kid, pros, cons, just your general thoughts. And after that, Ty, I'm going to let Ty go.
I agree with what Dan said. We're very light in the position, and going into an SEC football season light at any position is absolutely not ideal. And the fact that we have so many injuries right now means we're not really sure of what we have going forward. And you want to make sure you actually have the numbers necessary to do what we're trying to do within the offense that Ryan Grubb's going to try to be doing. So, the kid's 6'5", 250 pounds. We might beef him up since he's going to be playing on the end line. I do like the fact that what I have seen, he looks like he's got some reach on him. And in a tight end room, actually anything in football, if you got reach, you're going to have an advantage to people, especially with what we're going to try to be doing. So, I'm not overly excited about it because there's really not a lot of tape on the kid. But at the same time, numbers mean everything in the SEC. So if Courtney Morgan says it's a go, I'm with him. So let's go.
Cole Summer, Courtney Morgan. Shouts out to Courtney Morgan. Ty, I just want to get your thoughts on what's the consensus regarding just talent going into the spring portal. I saw David Stone, big time D lineman, Oklahoma in, out. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Is it a lot of good talent going in the portal this spring, or, kind of what is your consensus, what you're hearing around college football this spring portal?
Yeah, so it's the spring portal, right? The spring portal is more or less the same. Last year, I was super upset because we were told it was just going to be like some dynamite. Went and bought a Wizards costume. Made some jokes about how my Wizard hat that wouldn't stand straight up needed Cialis because it wouldn't stay up. And nothing happened. This time, it's been a bit more action. I will say that. And I think the Nico drama has a lot to do with that. We saw college football's first trade. And there's been some bigger names hit. But I think right now it's two ways to look at this, right? Whenever you're Alabama and you don't see that there's been a lot of movement, both of guys entering the portal and exiting the portal, I think that whenever a fan in the modern college football looks at that, there's some that could say, well, why is Alabama not doing anything? I kind of take the opposite approach, though. I sit there and say, man, the buy-in must be real high from the guys on the team because you don't have guys exiting. And Alabama right now, to me, is being super selective. Now, I'm not going to lie to you all. Dan, you and I were talking in the green room. There are some names I would have liked to have seen Alabama go after. I think that the kid from Syracuse, the defensive lineman that Texas just got, is a kid that think he was a true freshman, real high upside, going to be an interesting player to watch develop over there at Texas. I think they did a good job getting him. But when you ask, well, why wouldn't Alabama do that? One, what was the asking price? I don't know. I have no idea what the asking price was. But maybe for Alabama, they were like, hey, we like what we have. And that asking price, while you are worth it, while you do command that price, we just don't know if we want to pay that price because we do like the room. I think Clint Lamb put it best, and this is where I want to pass it to Pettey. Clint was on the show a few days ago, and he was talking about Bama wasn't going to probably be looking for big splash additions in the portal, but they're going to be looking for that depth piece, that piece that helps the guys develop. He made a point by saying, hey, when Bama was, at the top winning everything with Nick Saban, it wasn't just that the starters were better than everybody else. Their second, third, and fourth stringers, they could start other places. So it's about getting those guys as depth that can help make your starters better. Because if you're practicing against a tight end that played elsewhere, did good news elsewhere, even if he's not going to start over Cuevas, he's helping your second safety get better. He's helping your second team linebacker get better. And then he's going to develop and probably see a role for himself. So if Bama does anything, I think the tight end Dan mentioned, one to look at, but look at guys to increase that depth.
Pettey, anything you want to add?
No, it would just be more echoing the same. People won't like excitement with this transfer portal, but it is a depth version. There's not the top end names. Nico is the biggest, and then the Ott kid at running back. And I mean, how big was he? And outside of that, you see teams like Troy. It's more what you're seeing is like, this is where you see the watering down of that level of football where Troy used to be kind of dangerous from time to time. Well, they're not going to be because these type of players are now going to go provide depth at places like Alabama. And what it does for that kid is, hey, I get to go to Alabama. I get a chance to compete, and maybe I can take a step. Maybe I'm better than what people saw. I got a better chance there. Or, it's Alabama. It's a little bit better coin, I'm sure. So, it's I don't think there's much to take away from this portal time. You said it all pretty much, guys, that this is a time to add depth. And one thing is, man, I know there are certain areas that need it, but it's not too many. So you can kind of be picky right now. So it's probably not a horrible thing that there's not just a lot of top end names that you're having to worry about or having to go chase. Of course, another edge rusher, another defensive line piece, or, somebody on the offensive line, but tight end was one of the spots. So this Dalton kid could provide that depth because I think the top guys, Cuevas and Oots, are going to be okay. But, not much to add other than echoing. Yeah, I guess this portal stuff is enough to put up with, but luckily it's not too crazy right now.
Good. I want to echo and I'll close this out here. I think Todd mentioned how, there's not much movement for Alabama. It just goes to hear the buy-in that a lot of players have in Tuscaloosa with Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan, Womack, Shepard, all these guys. So things seem to be looking a lot different for the Crimson Tide going in this 25 season. And Van Edwards got a great comment. He said, curious to see who's going to pick up Leon Sandcastle in the portal. Great one by our good friend, Van Edwards. So, guys,
I'm liking Colorado in that situation.
Colorado. Oh, he'll have his jersey retired by next week. Listen, guys, let's go to the NFL. Speaking about NFL draft, I think it starts in 48 hours Thursday night, first round. I'm interested. It's a couple guys that on other teams that I want to discuss, but let's talk about the Bama players, and we're kind of going to go around the horn, not just in the first round, but, we got some other guys, Malachi Moore, etc. I just want to get your thoughts on the draft this year and, just potentially, just start with some of the first rounders and some of the sleepers that we will have. I'll go reverse. Pettey, do you want to start this, or you want somebody else to start this?
Someone else. I mean, I can. It doesn't matter. I'm jiggy either way, buddy.
I already know who you got your number one pick gonna be.
Number one pick, my new running back.
Pettey, go ahead and pop.
That's funny.
We'll go in reverse. Go ahead and
brand new and improved Taysom Hill. Look, man, I want to see. I've seen Campbell's name bounce all the way, a lot. I'm very interested in Campbell. I want to see who grabs him. I think he's going to be a steal. I think he's an NFL linebacker, a long-time NFL linebacker. His size to speed ratio is off the charts. He's everything you want in an NFL linebacker. So it's interesting to me that I've seen him drop as low as maybe even 19 to the Bucks, which if he goes, I think that would be fantastic for him. If you can go to an organization like that, especially one that's so good at defense, I believe it would be a great spot for him. But I'd be interested to see if someone doesn't snag him quicker because, I think he may be the best linebacker. I mean, I think he is the best linebacker in the draft. So I want to see what happens with Campbell. And look, I am interested. What do we see with Milroe? Look, we talked about it on our show on Monday night, the importance of the green room when you see players accept invitations or accept them and then decline them. Are they hearing things? Did they get some tip off? Because the one thing is you don't want to be the guy sitting in the green room and we're getting to the late 20s because then you're one of the last guys in there and every time the camera, it's panning on you and that pressure just ratchets up. So I'm real interested on guys who took the invitation. Jalen's going to be there. Is he hearing things from Cleveland? Is New York has flirted with him? I'm very interested if someone's going to pull the trigger and take Jalen. With it being, I don't think it's as bad of a quarterback draft as everybody says. And I know Shador's not going to be there, but Cam's going to be there. Jalen's going to be there. And now Dart's going to be there. I'm curious to see what the NFL likes to get trigger happy with quarterbacks in the first round. And if Cam's going to get, it seems to be number one consensus. Shador's the big question mark. You hear a lot of people say, well, yeah, there's a lot of, he may go number two. And then you hear a lot of people that are like, man, we just really don't like what we see in the kid. He's really if it wasn't for his last name, he might be a 2-3 round guy. And then that's where you get the next two are Dart and Milroe and then Quinn Ewers. Do these teams that need quarterbacks say, man, we're going to start pulling the trigger? And then you see Dart go to somewhere like the Saints or, Milroe to the Steelers. The quarterback situation in night one is absolutely fascinating to me.
Speaking of fascinating, I'm going to kind of hop around. Luscion, you're our resident, you break down a lot of film on these guys. Just want to talk about, I know you're very high on Jihaad Campbell. Listen, I'm gonna give you my take after everybody goes around, but I just think he's the most versatile linebacker, and I just want to hear your thoughts about, maybe some potential teams you can possibly see him with, or where you would like to see him. And talk about, some other players who you think is going to be sleepers, if that makes any sense.
You guys know me. I've been a huge fan of Jihaad since he got to Alabama. The kids played with Alabama heart and soul of a linebacker that we haven't seen in some years. And he brought that attitude. He brought that nasty. He brought that bully ball mentality back. And I do think he's going to go higher than what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing 17 to 19 from what these guys are saying on CBS Sports. But, those guys don't really know what they're talking about all the time. I think top 10 material. I mean, to be honest, he's one of the only linebackers that I've seen be able to do everything an NFL linebacker is going to require you to do. Yeah, the dude from Georgia might be able to rush the passer, but he's terrible in space. Or, yeah, that other guy might be able to, run down and be a little bit faster than Jihaad, but Jihaad can rush the quarterback from everywhere. He can rush the quarterback. He can stop the run. He can call a play out. He's probably going to end up anchoring a defense once it's all said and done. And he's probably one of the few that are going to be ready day one because he's smart enough to pick up a defense. That kid was playing as a true sophomore, and that's not really something that happens, especially in the SEC. Some other players I'm looking at, Tyler Booker, he's been graded, go mid first round to late first round. This is the first time seeing of it, and this is going to make Pettey happy. The Rams are taking your running back with their pick. That's the first time I've seen Jalen Milroe to the Rams, but that's what they got on here at 26.
That's interesting. The Rams, okay.
Very. A guy I'm gonna give love to. I know he's not an Alabama uniform now, but we're gonna go ahead and claim him, Trey Amos. We're wishing you the best. That dude performed for us, and he went to Pettey's, second favorite school, but we're still gonna show him love. He's got a good first round, a chance to go in the first round.
He's good.
Other than that, I'm if we're going outside of an Alabama player, I'm curious to see just because I'm a Raiders fan, is Luther Burton. I think he's probably the biggest X factor because there's not really a lot of present day film on what he can actually do as a Swiss Army knife. But I think he'll
be a nice compliment to Booker.
Impact in a receiving core.
I think that's a good one. He was billed going into the season as one of the top receivers, and everybody kind of forgot about him. But Missouri's quarterback got broke during the season, so he didn't have his guy throwing to him. So Luther's stock kind of dropped by default of not having that continuity. Anybody that gets Luther Burton, I think, might be getting one of the steals in the first round. That dude can ball.
Luscion, before I take it away from you, I'm curious. I'm just so curious. Now, it's a defensive end edge rusher from Texas A&M. Shamar Stewart, who only had like 4 sacks in 3 years, but they're projecting him to go first round. I'm just curious. I mean, the production is not there, but they're still talking about, him going first round. Me personally, I think that's just showing that a guy like Q Robinson from Alabama could go a lot higher. And I've heard that some people have him really high on his board. Now, I'm not saying first round, but definitely a day 2, 3 guy as far as production. I know he had the 1 year, but a lot of people are high on Shamar Stewart, and I just don't see the production. Yeah, he's athletic and come off the edge, but I didn't see that. I mean, not that many sacks. I want to get your thoughts on that.
That's a good one.
I think the whole Shamar situation is more of people are getting caught up in the fact that he is a mirror to what Myles Garrett is right now, as far as stature, as far as what he did in the combine. I think they're not exactly looking at the statistical standpoint of it, because as we've seen in these last few drafts, they have gotten away from the statistical aspect of drafting players.
Mingo.
Like Anthony freaking the dude from Florida. I don't even remember his name because exactly.
Yeah. Trayvon Walker.
Richardson. Right. It's like, right. They're drafting these guys based off superlatives that are given to them based off delusions of grandeur, basically. Like, I'm still ready to fight somebody over the fact that they gave the linebacker of the year award to a guy that didn't even lead his team in tackles. I think that is just the stupidest freaking thing I've ever heard. How do you give a linebacking award to a guy that doesn't even lead his team in tackles? Please, somebody explain that to me. But that's just me. I don't see it. I think Q Robinson, when it's all said and done, I think he will have a better career because he is able to do a little bit more than what I've been able to see that other guy do. Because, like you said, he doesn't have production. But I actually have Q Robinson going day 2.
Yeah.
But again, might be me just being a little hummer, but I do watch a lot of film.
Ty, you're hearing everything. You know more about some of these guys. What are you hearing? I know you're over there in Cowboys country. A lot of Cowboys fans out there. Just your thought on what you're hearing with some of the guys around your area in Texas, possibly Alabama, whatever, that teams like the Cowboys are pretty high on.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys need all the help they can get, so, I don't think Jesus Christ is in this draft, but that'd be a good pick for them.
Buddy Christ might be.
Jerry wouldn't have that. Jerry have to take all the credit.
Honestly, if they can get Matthew Golden, I would take Matthew Golden. I actually probably like him as my favorite wide receiver in this draft. I think he's really good. I really like McMillan too, but Matthew Golden was phenomenal for the Longhorns. High effort guy. Ran a real good 40. He's got a more complete route tree than Isaiah Bond. I think he is a bit more versatile than Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond's faster, and that's not to shame Isaiah Bond. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver in the NFL, but Golden, I think, is just really a unique player. Excited to see where he goes. But actually, I'm not going to lie to you. My favorite non-Alabama player in the draft that I think will get taken in the first round is Jihaad Campbell. Now, he's that defensive back from the University of Texas. He started off at nickel corner, then moved to outside corner, just won the defensive back award. The kid's phenomenal. I mean, he is a phenomenal player. You want to have a lot of fun watching a DB. Matt, you would really like it being a wide receiver. You'd probably get a lot of appreciation. Seriously, go check out some Matthew Golden, or I'm sorry, from some Jihaad Campbell.
Yeah, he's nice. From Texas.
He's real nice. Like, he's really, really good. For Alabama, I think that Tyler Booker, Jihaad Campbell is my answer, but Pettey really, I think, hit the nail on the head. Luscion hit the nail on the head. Tyler Booker, I think, is the best interior offensive lineman in this draft. I think that he is going to make a team very happy. So excited to see where he goes. Part of me, the greed in me, is hoping that my Vikings are able to get him, but I just don't think that he's going to be around when my Vikings pick. That sucks, but that's the nature of it. Pettey, you were talking about Luther Burden, and Luscion, y'all were talking about Luther Burden. My hot take, it's a little bit less. Like, don't get me wrong, the quarterback production certainly hurt, but to me, it's a little bit less about the quarterback production with Luther Burden. I think that this year's wide receiver class is kind of getting slept on because the best two wide receivers in college football were true freshmen, and one of them was a 17-year-old. I think whenever these NFL teams are looking, they're looking and they're like, there's not a Ryan Williams, there's not a Jeremiah Smith.
Oh, no, they try to – Jeremiah Smith would be the first receiver taken in the draft right now.
He'd be probably top 5 in this draft. I mean, he's that good, and Ryan Williams is another one that would just command a very – so I think that's a big thing.
He's going to be there.
It is interesting, though, with your point about Dart and Shadur. That's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
I think it's the biggest, most intriguing thing of the first night, to be honest, is what happens with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, we're going to touch on the quarterbacks. I want to get bring Dan in here. Maybe talk about guys like Malachi Moore. Definitely a day 2 guy, but I'm looking at teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, they'll be sneaky and grab a Malachi Moore. Dan, can you highlight
that was my sleeper player?
Yeah. You know, Howard Roseman, he's always looking to get a really good polished product. You know, obviously they won the Super Bowl. They get the 32nd pick. But listen, I think he's a steal for some teams. And if you got any other players you want to discuss, Dan, feel free to join them to your conversation.
Well, you just stole my thunder. I was gonna I was gonna mention Malachi. But you know, I say number 1 as far as Bama guys is Tyler Booker, simply because of the value of his position. You know, he's a guy. He can play on the interior, but he also can play, you know, tackle. He can slide out the tackle. I think he could be a very serviceable tackle in the NFL. Jihaad Campbell, like Lou mentioned, this is a guy that can play in space. He can do all the things. You know what I'm saying? He can play in space. He can rush the pass. You know, he's a every down linebacker. you know, and his size, and you know, I'm looking for someone, you know, to pick him up earlier than teams expect, than a lot of people expect. Q Rob, to me, you know, excellent. You know, I think he's a third down guy. You know, he leaves a little to be desired, you know, in the run game, you know what I'm saying? But he's a guy just because of what he can do, you know, which is very, very high in the NFL, is a guy that I think could go a little higher. Jalen Milroe, you know, like you say, he's a you know, I heard the best description of him is I heard a lottery ticket. You know, you never know what you're gonna get. You know, he'll have to be in the right situation. You know, look at Dallas. You know, what the hell? You know, you've been putting up with Dak Prescott for years. You know, so you know, why not go for it? You know, but who else am I missing?
Listen, you got CJ Dupree, James Burnip, probably be the first punter off the board. Robbie Oots can be a fullback.
Yeah.
You can definitely see somebody
combine killer. Yeah, Robbie Oots.
Yeah, Robbie Oots. So
Robbie Air Oots, you know,
with the stash, you know, he did it. So I'm just gonna give y'all my predictions on the draft. Listen, I think to Pettey's point, I mean, all y'all made great points. Listen, I think it's gonna be big drama. I'm looking at that number 5 pick. I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, done. You know, you're hearing a lot of stuff with Derek Carr out the Saints. This is just Matt's hypothetical theories. I could possibly see Jacksonville. Well, I feel like Ashton Jennings is going to go pretty. I think teams are kind of going to be pushing to kind of get in front of the Raiders possibly. But I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence. You know, they got a new coach. Could the Saints maybe try to trade up, maybe get a Trevor Lawrence on New Orleans Saints? That makes a lot of sense. You know, and then maybe, you know, Jacksonville takes Shedeur Sanders. You never know. I don't, you know, I could definitely see Shedeur go as far as 21. And I think the back half of the draft is really what's interesting. I think Cam Ward's going number 1. But I'm just baffled by New York Giants because they signed Ryan Williams. I'm not Ryan Williams, but maybe they will be 2 years from now. Russell Wilson and Jameis Wilson. I'm like, are they using one for like bait, you know, trade bait? It's crazy. Maybe are they trying to trade back up in the first round? Listen, I think Milroe, I could definitely see Milroe. I could see a Steelers maybe trading down. I think you got some teams that will probably position themselves high second or maybe try to trade in the first. Pettey, to your point, especially if Shedeur goes a little bit higher, but if he goes at 21, it's going to be a run on like 2 other quarterbacks after that, in my opinion. And I think we're going to get caught off. Just think last year, nobody was talking about Atlanta Falcons trading up to get Michael Penix. So, listen, stuff gets crazy. What are we going to say?
Let me ask you, if Shedeur drops that far, do you see the rest of the quarterbacks that are ranked behind him, Dart at 3, Milroe at 4, dropping out of the first, or do you see maybe just Shedeur dropping and someone coming in and snagging Dart before?
I see somebody coming in. I see somebody coming in and get Shedeur and Milroe. Because you look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they don't have. Everybody's talking about Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, they're in a division where they have to see Lamar Jackson twice. You know, maybe they sign a veteran, get a Kirk Cousins, and let whatever. You know, I'm just throwing hypotheticals out there and let Milroe kind of learn. But it's just going to be interesting drama. Like, it's just that I love this time of the year, leading up to the draft, because you hear so many different types of stories. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if that Trevor Lawrence
Well, and I hope everybody here knows this. If Milroe's name comes off that board Thursday night, I'll be the first person out of my seat going, "Oh hell," going crazy for the kid. I hope
straight live to Pettey.
I hope they need him in the green room, and then they need me sitting there with, because I'll shock the world with my response, because I hope the kid goes, because the thing about it is his talent is undeniable, and what Dan mentioned earlier, you put him in the right spot, the right organization. And that's the thing, man. The first round for these kids, it's like a landmine. You can either end up in the organizations of death, the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, or you can end up in an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers that really know how to, it's just, and if you end up in the right place, it can change your fortunes. You end up in the wrong place, and we may never hear from you again. So, yeah, it's a lot of intrigue going into this one. One of the more intrigue in years, actually, for me.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm excited. I love this time of the year just to hear all the stories. But it's going to be some bangers out there that, no pun intended, I think it's just the NFL is such a quarterback. People it's going to be hard to pass on 4 or 5 quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Teams.
You've seen them take Trey Lance in the first round, for God's sakes. Come on.
They had Josh Rosen number 1 a couple of years ago. Look how that panned out.
Those guys can throw slants.
Now, here is the debate, though, that I would like to get into.
Just saying. Those
Who
guys
would be
can all
the
throw
second
slants.
quarterback off the board?
What'd you say?
I think
Who's
it may
the
be
second
Dart.
quarterback off the board?
There's a lot of fire that the Saints may take Dart at 9.
I can see that too.
See, that's going to be fascinating. But that Florida tape is so tremendously bad.
The last 2 minutes of Florida are always going to come back. What happened? Because it wasn't
when
like
the lights
what happened
were
to your
brightest.
brain. Well, that's where the moment was the biggest, and you had to drive your team down, and you had time. And you didn't do it once; you did it twice. You had 2 chances and blew both of them. I was there that Saturday. That was a very odd scene, and I think that's a great question, Ty. That's the question I promise he's had to answer the most is explain to me the last 3 minutes in Florida.
Who are you guys taking? Who are you guys taking as a quarterback then?
First, Cam Ward.
Who's that?
Second.
Chris, what you got?
We got a bro fight going on. Cam would be my first, and then I'm
taking second.
Dart. I think Dart's an NFL quarterback.
Elroy.
Hey, fellas. What up, Chris?
What up, Chris?
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Elroy had to come make his appearance, Just being
Chat, chime in. Who you taking second at quarterback? Trojan fight. Well, that's a round table. It's you.
You want to take a second at quarterback?
What quarterback you taking?
Probably Dart. Probably Dart.
Dart.
Is that who you're with, Lou? Dart.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Dart.
Hell yeah.
Ty? You Matt, Ty?
I'd probably go Shadur over Dart.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Why?
I'm torn.
Because when the lights are the brightest, I've seen Dart completely self-destruct with a team that far out-talented what Shadur has to work with.
I really like Dart.
And an offensive coordinator that's not Lane Kiffin.
I really like Dart. I don't know. I don't know. That's tough. But I don't have to make that decision.
Dart played in the SEC and carved up actual,
you got the Georgia
reputable
game.
Defenses. So,
but man,
yeah, he had some games, and then I
might go
watched him.
Shador.
I'm with, but the time I'm with you like that.
I got Shador.
Take it from
Dart.
the fan side of me. There was I don't know, man. I did not see the sides of Dart.
Nope.
Dart shows things, and I don't want to pay. I hate the comparison thing because if they don't live up to it, you're like, well, that was a dumbass comparison. But he plays the game in a similar style that Josh Allen plays the game. He's not the best, but he can run. He's a football player, and I think he's impressed people on the boards, which is very important when you get in these NFL. They're gonna fire questions at you. They're gonna fire defenses at you. How do you answer on the chalkboard? I think he's done well there. I get it. I don't know, man. I think it's a great debate that Shedeur, but I mean, I don't know, man. I think Dart's going to be a little different. I think he's been a kid. You know, Kiffin brought in Spencer Sanders, brought in a starter from Oklahoma State. It pissed him off. In this era, a lot of kids would have just transferred, taken their ball and go home. He said, "No, this is my team. Sit your ass on the bench." And Ole Miss, congratulations for wasting $1 million on a dude that never stepped on the field. So I think there's been elements of his time at Ole Miss that may have prepped him. But again, I don't know, man. I'm with you. The one thing that holds me up is the last 4 minutes in Gainesville.
Well, and to me, it's also like, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to say, I think 4 quarterbacks get drafted in the first round. What were we going to say, Pat,
okay.
Ty?
Well, when I look at Dart, like he had some excellent performances. But he also had 5 games where he failed to throw for 60% completion with a Lane Kiffin offense. Right? Like that to me, mixed with the self-destruct in Florida, that to me is like, ugh. He had like a 67% on the year, but he had against like MTSU a 90-something% completion percentage. Against Mississippi State, he failed to hit 60%. Against Florida, he failed to hit 60%. Against Georgia, he failed to hit 60%.
I'm a one-up you, Ty. And Ole Miss is one of their biggest games in the prior season was in Tuscaloosa. Ole Miss had a team that they thought was going to beat Alabama. Kiffin thought he had the team, and he probably did. There was a moment late in the game, fourth quarter, Ole Miss was driving to either tie it or take the lead at the time. I can't remember exactly what the score was. And Dart had a guy in the end zone. It was on him. All he had to do was make the play, and the throw wasn't there. So, again, I hear you, Ty, and that's a little bug in my ear, but then there's another side of me that thinks this kid's just a football player and he's going to make it.
I do agree with you there. He definitely is.
To y'all's point, I know we're talking about Dart and Shedeur. I don't think Shedeur is going to the Giants. I think the Giants have been high. I think they're not going to say they're higher on Jackson Dart and Milroe, but I think they're kind of comfortable taking one of those two guys later in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised at all with Brian Daboll, his ties with the SEC. Listen, you got to look at that division. I mean, you got Jaden Daniels, Jaden Daniels, freaking Jalen Hurts. You got to come with it at the quarterback position. So it's going to be interesting. I think either Dart or Milroe might probably end up being in the Giants. I think Shedeur probably either be a Saint or Pittsburgh, something like that.
I hope Milroe goes in the first round. I hope it's not the Giants.
Milroe will be a first rounder. You don't get an invite to the green room for nothing. It's a team out there that's let it be known that they're going to take Milroe. That's why he has that green room invite.
Didn't Will Levis get invited to the green room and get left?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, like somebody
been top 3 pick.
I don't think they would do that. They've done it to guys. I don't think they would do that to Jalen.
Check this.
Nobody.
Yeah, but you guys are counting on some crazy shit not happening. Some crazy shit happens. There might be 2 quarterbacks that don't go.
Check this out.
Well, you're damn well could, Lou.
We don't know.
Check this out though. Listen, like I think it was Louis Reddick or somebody. They brought up a big point the other day on ESPN. They said that if you took Jalen Milroe's 10 best throws, it's a team out there that saw that and they feel like they can fix whatever's wrong with him. You know, the rest. They said that he's more athletic than any quarterback. He's faster, more explosive than any quarterback that's come out in a long time. And it's been flashes of brilliance, that he's had at times. And he said it's a team out there that feels like they can fix what's wrong, and he can turn out and be another Lamar Jackson type. Because when Lamar came out, what was the knock on him? He's just an athlete. He can't make the throws. What he's doing now, just dropping dimes all over the place. Jalen Hurts, He can't do this. Yeah. Not what he's done. He just won a Super Bowl. So it's a team out there that's gonna tailor their offense, around him eventually. I don't think he's gonna come in and start, but I think he's gonna come in and behind a team that has a veteran quarterback, probably sit for 2 years, and then kind of take over slowly and just develop behind the scenes. Next thing you know, you're looking up Jalen Milroe's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I give it 3 years.
You know who I think is one of the most interesting quarterbacks in this draft, just because of the disparity between their best work and their worst work, is Quinn.
I knew you were gonna. Yeah, I figured you were going Quinn.
Yeah, because his best work is art.
Could be a later round. It could be a great steal in the later round. And
he's not going to make it that far. I think he's a day 2. I think he's a day two guy. I think he's a day 2 guy.
His game in Tuscaloosa it's a tough rewatch for me, but it
he was dropping dimes, man.
Well, and he played really hurt this year. So I mean, yeah, that's a good one. He could be a steal in the second round of the QB class.
Justin.
All right, guys, I got a question, and those of you who are football players on here, I really would like to hear from you, most definitely. Yes, Jalen Milroe's throwing is one of the most debated things right now going into the draft. Will coaches be able to correct his issue there? But my second question would be, how do you get him to suffer from short-term memory loss, essentially be Dory, and forget about things when they go wrong and rise above adversity? A lot of the problem I have with Milroe, aside from where he was placing the ball, was his crash out problem. When things were going wrong, when adversity was striking, he would go into this destruct mode and he couldn't be pulled out. Not only that, he would go to the sideline and sit in solitude away from everyone. He wasn't on the phone with his coaches. At least we couldn't see that on camera. He wasn't by his teammates going over things. Hey, how can we make this better? What do I need to do to make sure that we come out in the next play and prevent this from happening again? He went and sat by himself. He right now is a play ahead quarterback. If things are going right, he is on. We saw it against Georgia in the first half. We saw it in other games too. But my biggest concern is, can coaches correct the mental side that he struggles with? And I know a lot of people may take this the wrong way, but that's a legitimate concern for NFL coaches. When things are on the line, are you going to continue to crash out, or is that something that you can put behind you and be a true leader and your team can rally behind you?
I wouldn't say crash out. I think crash out is not the correct term. I would say, yeah, he's got to work on, that's why I think the way that you can do it, you look at the New York Giants, he'll have 2 veteran, like a Jameis Winston and a Russell Wilson, to learn from. So I think, to your point, Justin, it's going to take patience. You look at a Josh Allen. Josh Allen wasn't where he was coming out of Wyoming. It's going to take – you're going to have to do a lot of work. And luckily in the NFL, you don't have to go to school. You don't have to worry about none of that stuff. So I think you got to have a program in place for Milroe, because he has the right tools, and if you have the patience and put in the work, you can fix those things, like when things aren't going right, it was just, he needs to develop those areas. So I think veteran leadership and having a plan, I don't see any program that's not going to have a plan for him, but I think he'll eventually get there. Anything, Ty, Chris?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that is going to help Milroe is actually getting a fresh start. I think with Milroe, we have to look at it like this. You're a college kid who backed up Bryce Young, who was, in my opinion, the best Alabama quarterback to ever play. Right? I know Pettey likes Tua. I'm not going to argue with Tua. Listen, that's a right answer. But for me personally, just in terms of what Bryce did, I thought it was some of the best quarterback play I've ever seen. I had so much fun. Jalen backed him up. Then he has his first year starting, and he makes first year mistakes. Fine, right? Give me a quarterback that doesn't make first year mistakes. His second year is a year where Nick Saban retires, and he put a lot of pressure on himself. Being the first guy to walk into Mal Moore, stop, look at the media, and say, "Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere." So I think he put a lot on himself to be that guy that was a steady force. And so when things didn't go well, he took it very hard because he wanted more than anybody on this panel. I think Jalen wanted to get Alabama to the promised land. And so when things didn't go well, it affected him in a way that was just hard to shake because he put so much pressure on himself. So I actually think in a roundabout way, getting to the NFL is going to alleviate some of that pressure where now it's a fresh start. Now you don't have to be the guy that is there after Bryce or after the GOAT retires, putting this pressure on yourself because now you're in more of a system, if you will. So I don't know. That's just one of the ways I look at it.
Chris?
Yeah. I agree with Ty. I think it was due to a lot of pressure he had placed on himself. But I think somebody could fix it, Justin. I feel like it's a team out there that has the proper plan for him. It's going to be somebody that's going to take a chance on him, and he's going to learn. He's going to sit and learn. Now, for the Giants, Matt, I think for the Giants to get him, I think that they'll be a team that trades back into the first round because they need weapons. They're outside Malik Neighbors. They need weapons, so I think they'll draft a weapon early, and it'll be somebody coming back into the back end of the first round that plans on moving back into the back end of the first round that's going to get him. That's why I say I think he may sneak into the late first round, but he just needs to sit, Justin, and just learn how to be a professional. You know what I'm saying? And not just any veteran quarterback, but a veteran quarterback that's not a selfish guy, a team player.
Yeah,
like a Russell Wilson. It doesn't get much better than a high character guy like Russ or even if he went somewhere out west, like behind Stafford, or just think outside the box. Somebody that's that probably has a good 2 to 3 more years left on him, and that'll be able to handle. Because you think about it, man, running wise, he has a lot of Michael Vick in him, just making things happen with his legs. Then Mike Vick was a guy that developed as a passer after he did that stint, that time away from the game where he got in, that federal trouble. When he came back, he was a much better passer with the Eagles. Michael Vick was slinging it around better than he did with the Falcons. So because he sat, coaching matters. Yeah, so it can't just be it can't be anybody. Hey, what about a guy like Andy Reid, a quarterback guru? Because the Chiefs like to use guys. He can be he can be somebody that the Chiefs, because the Chiefs don't have many holes. He can be somebody that comes in second round, maybe, and sit behind Mahomes and be a something for Andy Reid, to another weapon for him to develop behind Mahomes. Because we saw how much Mahomes got banged up, how he was limping all year, So, I mean, we just have to think outside the box.
And I don't mean to take a shot at him. That is just a genuine concern, and being able to overcome that.
We like that.
And I wasn't sure if that's something that you either have it or you don't. But do you guys agree that maybe, of course, sit behind a veteran who's going to really pour life into you, maybe help you move past those issues? But do you guys maybe agree to him taking on a role of, say, like Taysom Hill, as Pettey mentioned, or a Deebo Samuel, or something similar to a Cordell Stewart his first couple of years, to where he can get on the field, get meaningful snaps, and use his athleticism to make a genuine impact. And then when he's truly ready to take the lead as the QB1, he'll be ready to do it. Do y'all think that would be a logical route?
Yeah, Luke, I think you got to have a plan. But Luke, you go first.
I don't see that happening at all. I think he is going to be a quarterback. I think a lot of people have gotten so far away with something called NFL development. What great quarterback came in year one and was absolutely destroying it? It
Jane
rarely, if ever, happens.
Right.
That's why I said rarely, if ever, happens. I mean, other than that, it doesn't happen. And we have yet to see if it's actually going to take in year two. Yeah, you get him year one, but a lot of times you don't get him that second year. So I'm not expecting him. I mean, we look at what Bryce Young did. Bryce Young, as Ty said, was the best quarterback in Alabama football history, and he got
struggled.
his bell handed to him.
But he had nothing.
So
Literally
he got
nothing.
I think people need to have a little bit more.
He still has nothing.
I think people
But he
need
got
to have
better
a little
as the
bit
year went
more
on.
realistic outlook on what his NFL career is going to be. He's not going to be a starter right off rip. He's going to take some time. He's going to need to develop. And as we've said, there are some teams that can do it. And honestly, I think it's actually scary. And it should scare a lot of fans because there are those types of coaches that could take his athletic ability and make an absolute nightmare for defenses around the NFL for the next decade plus. So, I think that if certain coaches, and we've seen them do it time and time again, that if they want him, they're going to go get him. And it doesn't matter really who's going on or who anybody says is on the board. If a head coach feels they want a guy and they can go get a guy, they're going to go get him. Oh, who won that match?
That was a turn heel. We got a turn heel.
I heard Dan's a Paul Heyman guy.
But Justin, I'm glad you brought that up. Ty, Luscion, Chris. I heard. Now I'm not saying anything. I heard Kellen Moore, the new head coach at the New Orleans Saints, just came working with Jalen Hurts, won the Super Bowl. I heard, don't be shocked about hearing some smoke with the Saints. I'm just saying.
If the Saints, that'd be interesting.
Maybe not at 9, but later in the draft.
Later in the draft. Seeing it'd be interesting if they don't go QB at 9. That would be, Again, that's
I can see them trading back.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. That's what I'm hearing. It's going to be interesting. I love this time of the year. That was a great topic.
And the development thing, man. Jaden Daniels is a freaking unicorn. Look, Bryce Young, go back to this last season. Everybody wrote him off after he got benched. You watched the second half playing on that crap Panthers freaking team, and he got better as the year. With Chuba Hubbard and the offensive Thielen and the pieces they had, he made it work, and they started winning and scratching out some wins at the end. But, most quarterbacks don't come in. I mean, Peyton Manning broke the interception record as a rookie. John Elway went 4-12 and lined up under the freaking guard. Look, man, the list goes on and on. That's why I hope. I don't want it to be someone like the damn Giants. And I'd almost say Kellen Moore, he may be an up-and-comer, but the Saints are a shit show of an organization. You want it to be an organization that has a track record of developing players, taking time. Someone like Sumlin in Pittsburgh, which I know the offense is different, but that type of mentality where you got an organization that will be patient, work something, see something in them. I think that's where it's going to work. And then there is a very big possibility that we see Jalen Milroe playing a lot of football.
And I don't expect him to play year one, and I don't expect him to have a unicorn of an impact that very few have had. I just more so want to ask the question, while he waits, why not maximize his abilities in different ways? Not necessarily saying you're going to stay in this switchblade knife type role, but while you wait to become that guy, this is what we're going to do with you.
Well, they did it all the way back to Cordell Stewart. I mean, before Cordell, they let him do, some switchblade stuff. So, it's absolutely a possibility.
I just don't want to – usually when that happens, they get locked in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is
and
detrimental.
I think Jalen Milroe got –
and then they don't get
I think he got asked that question. He got asked that question at the draft, and he says, I'm a quarterback. I don't think he wants to do anything besides play quarterback.
I get that, but
that kind of goes into a lot of, you know.
But you also need to tell Coach, I'm willing to do whatever you want me to do until my time comes. That's just the way I feel about it. But
I mean, I think a lot
like
of people.
But this is the NFL, Justin. This isn't college. You need specialists.
No, I get that.
Positions, not like, you know, a guy that, you know, is sitting behind another guy. He's just fast. There's other fast guys. This is the NFL. Everybody's got the same level of talent. You know what I'm saying?
I can punt the shit out of a football. Okay. I mean, I can punt it clear over those mountains over there. I'm telling the Dallas Cowboys right now.
We have a TikTok showing
whatever you need me to do. They don't want to put me at guard, right? Like, I don't know. For Milroe, he needs to develop, and I think whenever you get that kind of situation like a Taysom Hill, they don't develop.
Depends on coaching. It all goes back to coaching. I mean, Caddell was in that role for a while, and then he eventually became the guy at Pittsburgh, did well. He also went to the Ravens and did well and went to the Pro Bowl. But I think it all comes down to coaching. That was just my question, but I appreciate you guys for answering it.
Yeah, I think the later, the better the organization for any of these quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're going up top, you see what Bryce Young.
Yeah.
You see.
But Matt,
you just know, though.
I thought about that when you know, I thought Mac Jones fell into a great position, you know, when he fell to the Patriots. I was so excited.
Oh, yeah, I thought that
was before. Yeah, but that was before they decided to go hire a defense coordinator as offense. They ruined him. They ruined him. So yeah, it's just I guess timing matters too. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
and the organization.
Right. So
I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be in the green room as a quarterback, and when the Cleveland Browns got on the clock, them to put the camera on me at any point, because it would be quite obvious. My feelings like, no. God, no, just take me. I'll be Mr. Irrelevant. Just don't take me, Browns.
Look what they did to Baker. Baker
they did
such good work for that franchise, and they treated him like dirt. Like he wasn't a big reason they were turning it around. You hit the nail on the head with that one, Pettey. I might tell them they'd call my name and I'd mulligan.
I'm gonna take up water polo instead, guys. Y'all have at it.
Filibuster.
Listen, it's gonna be an exciting draft. Give us your takes in the comments. But it's gonna be interesting. I think 4 quarterbacks going first round. I see 3 Alabama players from Alabama. I see 3 possibly Ole Miss players. Definitely Walter Nolan.
Definitely. And Amos.
Yeah.
And Amos.
Yeah. And
I think Dart too.
Yeah.
I tell you who may be the steal of the late round draft is Maxwell Harrison, the cornerback from Kentucky. Somebody's going to get that kid late, and man, bad team, kid's a baller.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, guys, let's shift back gears to Alabama real quick. And let's talk about Coach Cap and the offensive line development. I know Coach Cap, he signed probably Dan, was that the number 1 offensive line class last year in the country? With Michael Carroll and all those guys. Let's just discuss.
Right.
Coach Cap. You go, Dan. Sorry.
Yes, you know, that was even after losing Ty Hayward. You know, we lost him in the final hours. You know, but the tremendous job he did. You know, going out, not just getting guys, but evaluating. You know, these guys were. You know, they were the first one to be on these guys before they moved up, you know, the rankings. So, you know, when they offered Jackson Lloyd, you know, we were like, oh, you know, a 3-star lineman, you know, but then you go and watch his film, you know, there's a clip of him playing basketball. He's running out on the outlet, you know, and he slams it, goes up, slams it 2 hands, you know, you're like, wow, that's a freak athlete, you know. And even with Michael Carroll, I saw his film and I was like, man, you got to show me a guy in the last 3 or 4 years who has better offensive line tape than this guy. I didn't see anybody that compared to him. After watching high school film for the last 3 or 4 years, I didn't see anybody that was on that level as Michael Carroll. So, and that just shows you, that they were able to identify guys quickly. That's what Coach Cap is good. He excels at that. You know what I'm saying? He's ahead of the Rankins team, the Rankins guys. And what he's able to do, to create versatility. He tried to get all his offensive guys to be able to snap the ball. And we as Alabama fans know, the problem we had with the quarterback. That's the most important exchange in football, the quarterback center exchange, and we kind of struggled with that for a few years, and so he's able to, teach guys to be versatile along the line so you can move guys in and out. And that's another great way to build depth. He got guys that can play inside, outside. So, tremendous shout out to what he's been able to do, in the short term that he's been here.
Ty?
I think he hit the nail on the head. He got, I think, maybe the number one offensive line class in the nation, and he was the position coach hired last, if I'm not mistaken. Excellent work on the recruiting trail by him, Courtney Morgan, and the entire staff, right? Like, takes an entire staff to recruit, including the names that don't get talked about, the guys behind the scenes. They did a fantastic job. But I think one of the things, guys, I was the most happy with last year is the offensive line is still far from a finished product, but they cut the number of sacks in half. After losing a guy that went very high in the NFL draft, after Proctor got hurt early in the year, and he still played hurt for the entirety of the year, and they were doing a total scheme change. And when I say a total scheme change, I mean what Wolford had them doing was on one side of the aisle, and what Coach Cap and DeBoer had them doing was polar opposite. Wolford wanted a brick wall. Coach DeBoer, Coach Cap, these guys wanted pinning and pulling. You can't pin and pull when your offensive lineman averages 350 pounds, or at least you can't do it well, unless you've got just some freaks across the board. So I think Coach Cap did a phenomenal job in year one. I think the offensive line as a whole, right? All guys. And I'm not saying it was perfect. Yes, there were struggles. I think they handled that transition as well as you possibly could have, given the fact that, in my opinion, it was total opposites of what they were asked to do within 1 year. And they did it very well. Now, what does this mean going forward? I think that the offensive line under Cap is going to take another step going forward. You return some interesting pieces. Roberts coming back. Now he's going to be fully healthy, and I actually think he fits what DeBoer wants to do really well. Luscion, you'll remember before Roberts was starting, we did a show, Dan, we all said it. We were like, hey, that guy, Roberts, he needs to be starting because he looked like the most athletic guy out there. Like, he was rivaling Booker in terms of athleticism, getting to the second level. I think Roberts, fully healthy, is going to really make a name for himself this year. I think Parker Brailsford probably is the number one center in the nation coming back. Unbelievable football player. Really love that they got that. Dan, I think you hit the nail on the head with Michael Carroll. He was my favorite lineman in this class, and I thought this was a pretty darn good offensive line class. When you actually go back and look, even some of the guys 4-star, even outside the top 300, you turn on some of their film and you're like, man, some really interesting offensive line pieces. And Michael Carroll was my favorite for a few years. So I think that this offensive line has a lot of potential. I'm excited for Caden Proctor being fully healthy, back with Coach Cap for a year. That's going to do wonders for him, being around the program for a full year. I think we're going to see the offensive line continue to take steps. And dare I say, remember a year ago, I was pessimistic about the offensive line because I was like, well, shit, they haven't been great since 2020. So I'm not necessarily inclined to believe it's going to be a Bama unit in 2024. I think we start to see more of a Bama unit in 2025. And I think Coach Cap has a good bit to do with that. as you can see. I need some water.
Lou?
See you, Ty. I think that one of the greatest things about Coach Cap, I'm gonna go a different direction. We've alluded to this, 2020 was the last time we actually had an offensive line that we could actually call reputable, and that was actually an Alabama attitude. I think one of the greatest things that's been missing from our offensive line that Cap brought back last year was the mentality to actually be a bully offensive lineman. I think the years before that, we kind of got lost in, this dude is, this massive human being. And if we just line up back to back to back to back to back to back massive human beings, no one's going to be able to penetrate that. Obviously, that didn't work. And I think Cap had a lot to do with that. I also think he has a lot to do with the relationships these guys are developing within the offensive line room. These guys are actually hanging out together. They're going to do things within the community. And I think Coach Cap has a direct effect on that because he's a very impersonal guy and he values relationships. And part of the things, if you're hanging out, like we're seeing these guys hang out, like we haven't seen Alabama football players hang out, a big ass group of them, in a long time. And I think them hanging out, as everybody on this panel knows, you hang out with your teammates and you get to know your teammates, the guys that you're in the foxhole with, then it's only going to equal positive results. And the younger guys, from what I've heard from the other coaches and what they're saying on them, that their development from even just the little baby steps and the progress they've made in spring just speaks to Cap actually identifying what needs to be done with every specific lineman. And that's also something that has been missing from the Alabama coaching staff as a whole, is identifying what a player needs to do to actually get better, to make the actual team better as a whole.
Pettey.
One I want to add on the Carroll stuff, man. When a kid comes through like Carroll, it's offensive line is one of the hardest to judge in the high school ranks, how they're going to translate. But then there's also the easiest to judge when there's certain players, the Quanjos, the Andre Smiths, the guys that are surefire. You look at them and be like, I don't have to be a scout. I can tell you that's an NFL offensive tackle. I think that's what Carroll is. And the exciting part is the development that comes with it. And one of the ones you hear, one of the names, is Will Conformby, a kid that got thrown in the fire and everybody wanted to crap on him 10 snaps into his damn career. And he got better as the season went on. And all you hear this offseason is development. And I think you're going to see a completely different kid out of him than what Ty alluded to earlier, and what was already an offensive line that took a step in the right direction. You're going to see it take another step with that development. And then you're adding kids like Carroll. Look, man, you add an NFL offensive tackle to a college offensive line, and it's a game changer, is what it is. So, yeah, I expect the offensive line. I'll be honest, I expect this offense, and it all starts up front, man. You win championships up front. Everybody knows that if you ever watch the damn game of football. But with this offensive line and the talent that stepped up receiver, this offense has a real chance to take a huge step next year.
I agree. And it starts in the trenches, and I think we got a great leader in Coach Cap to lead us. So, guys, let's finish out close out the show with some question and answer. Q&A. If Dart had Ewers surrounding talent, he'll be top 3. I just don't think Ewers. I think that's a dig. I think that's disrespectful to Dart because I think Dart's better than Ewers.
I do too. Dart had Ewers surrounded top 3. I think he's saying if Dart would have had Ewers' talent, he'd be top 3. If he would have had that offensive line and hadn't had to run for his life and an actual running back this year, he probably would have looked a little different.
I still, yeah.
But what was the receiver from Ole Miss? He was just as good as anybody, on Texas. I can say.
Trey Harris, and he got hurt.
Trey Harris, yes. Yes, I mean he was good.
See,
at
Harris got hurt.
Yeah.
They didn't have a running back. And you bring up the Florida
Right.
game. If you really want to dissect it, it's a team that was playing with a receiver at running back and no depth. He didn't. You're right, Lance. He didn't have. If he would have had Ewer's talent, people would be talking about him a lot higher in the draft. I believe you're right there.
Good job, Lance. My bad. I'm claiming to be Nico's third brother, try to get deal from UCLA. Gonna end up more legal class cases than Shannon Sharp. So listen, if you've been under the rock in the SEC, we had our first SEC trade, and Nico Elamavea, I'm probably butchering his name, went to UCLA, and UCLA's quarterback who went to App State transferred to Tennessee.
Aguilar.
Yeah, which I think UCLA won the trade. Am I wrong?
Well, yeah, they won the trade. I mean, you can hate on Nico. The dude's still like a top 10 like Heisman candidate on Vegas's board. Like Aguilar is a game manager from Appy State. Like, look, did Nico have problems? Was he young? Was he part of what maybe held Tennessee back? Yeah, but he still was going to be Tennessee's starting quarterback next year.
Yeah, but we're going to be is worth $8 million.
But the problem is he's losing money. He's taking less money. There's more taxes out in LA, so everybody lost in this deal.
Yeah, he lost the most.
I disagree, Pettey.
Oh, I know. Go with it, Lou. Nico, let me have it, buddy.
I think Nico was the big winner here, ladies and gentlemen. I like that. I think he won because he's no longer surrounded by that ugly garbage man stadium with those putrid smelling, uppity, just absolutely just ugh. And you know what? You'd probably have to pay me $800,000 a year to get the out of that town too. So you know what? Nico won in the end because he got the hell out of Tennessee. And most importantly, he doesn't have to play Alabama. He doesn't have to play Alabama.
Yep.
He doesn't have to play SEC defenses. I think a lot of people aren't realizing that factor. He's not going to have to work as hard in the soft, pillowy Big Ten as he would have to grind every single week in the SEC. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Lou has spoken. He has donned a better uniform. Around the paper reports, I subbed.
And a softer conference.
Please help. Oh man.
Send me money. I'll find you some feet pick.
Good question from. Question is walk on such a thing. I want to address this. I saw a few walk-ons hitting the portal, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like,
what are we doing?
I'm not to bash being a walk-on. They're important to the team, but I feel like you might, and you just showing practice film. Like, I feel like you have better opportunity to kind of stay where you're at, right? In the NCAA, thinking about expanding. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I want to get your thoughts, Lou.
You have to remember, there's NIL now. There's money involved.
There you go.
All right. So, yes,
you're right.
At the University of Alabama. But another school in the middle of podunk freaking, I don't know, let's just throw out a random state, wherever the hell New Mexico State is, in New Mexico, they got a school that beats SEC schools. So, if, they were to offer him some money, and it wouldn't even have to be a lot, he could be like, well, I could go out there and I could still beat the shit out of Auburn. That's a win-win situation, and I get paid. So there is that factor. So, and I do see some schools actually giving some love to the walk-ons. So it is a thing. I think it more so just depends on what school, because I think a lot of schools are getting too much into the future, and they're actually losing what created football. Walk-ons help create football, and if we forget about the walk-ons, the team's not going to be successful. And I just think I did see that one Alabama walk-on get in the portal, and I was like, good for him, because somebody probably offered that kid some money, and to go play football, and that's just good. I mean, that's just positive. You can't be mad at that.
I was wrong, guys. I didn't think about the NIL, so Luscion worded it perfectly. Chef's kiss. I'm over. I'm over 2 tonight on Q&A.
Money talks, man. Money talks.
Right.
Except
Plus, a walk-on from the University of Alabama is going to carry more weight than a lot of other places. So you think about how many guys go in the portal, but a lot of you guys don't never come out of it, you know. But a guy, when you got that Alabama tag, you know, it tends to weigh a lot more than a lot of other situations.
Yeah, that Crimson A buys you. That's a get in anywhere card.
Oh, I can answer this one.
Be a coach's son.
What would it take for Alabama to retire a jersey? Someone would literally, during a game, have to die on the field in that jersey. That's it. And I mean, it would take.
Like, I'm not wearing that.
I mean, if they're not retiring, it would take such a cultural mind shift for Alabama, the team that won't even go back. We can't wear white helmets when y'all actually wore white helmets. Like, we're not touching uniform. Like, you could. It would take such a mind shift. But so without the mind shift, that's never going to happen at Alabama. It would literally take someone dying on the field in the uniform.
Now it'll take like an old school coach being like, "Yeah, we're gonna retire that number 0 again. Nobody ever gonna wear that again."
You know what, Pettey? I don't know. I think if somebody came in and won 3 Heisman trophies and 4 national championships, they're getting their shit retired.
No, let me tell you. I'm gonna give you another situation, Lou. I'm gonna give you another situation. You know, we hired Deion Sanders as a coach, and he has another son.
Listen,
there you go, Dan.
I will be at the gates on T-Town fighting whoever's trying to make that damn decision.
After going 12 and 13.
That's what I don't understand his hype. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, he's so good." He did shitty against shitty teams. Like,
I mean, come on, man. Yeah. Cordell Stewart, Darian Hagan, you know what I'm saying?
Eric Bieniemy.
Like, guys that went to Colorado for more than a year.
Right. Rashawn Salam.
Like, Rashawn Salam won the damn Heisman.
I stand by what I said last week. If they wanted to commemorate those boys, they should have built a damn bank and put their names on it because they brought that school money. They didn't do absolutely a damn thing for the football, other than disrespect the freaking lineage of great football players that actually played at the University of Colorado, not just rented an apartment for like 9 months.
They had a quarterback that ran the option with Eric Bieniemy, and I can't think of his name, who was also fast.
Darian Hagan.
God, he was lightning ass fast.
Good. He didn't win there's guys that won Heismans that don't have their shit retired in college. Like, I'm just confused. I'm so confused.
Q has a ton of potential. I think Dupree goes high. I think Malachi drops like speed.
Good take. Understandable take.
Yeah, I think Q might be the next one off the board. I like Dupree somewhere like a Baltimore Ravens, and I think Malachi would be a good steal. Day 2.
Yeah, but man, oops. You got to say oops. You know, with the way he rocks the mustache and the mullet, you know, not too many guys can pull off both.
Oots will go to San Fran. The Niners will get him. Yeah. He'll fit right in there with all them pretty boys out there.
Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah.
All right. Is that the last one?
Is that it, Mr. Justin? And Edwards. I'm just wondering who the
Falcons going to do everything but get a defensive end.
Who's most likely to turn?
Kirby.
Kirby can't afford to bail all the rest of his players out, man. He running out of money. He ready to go to the league. He's sick and tired of speed limits, court cases, lawyer fees.
Yeah.
And you know the
bail
NFL
bondsman.
Yeah, they're wasting a lot of NIL money.
they have a lot of brand deals with like Coors Light, Bud Light, perfect.
Kirby's yelling at his team to like learn how to drive. They can't even go get a quarterback because they got to pay half the team to get out of freaking jail on the weekends.
Oh man. Well, listen, guys. Oh, we got one more. Latoya Bisley. Which assistant coach do you guys think has the most improved this year? I think we all know who that is.
Yep. We've been saying it for what, about 2 or 3 years now. Lou, you want to answer that one?
His name
rhymes with Betty Coach.
All I know is if my wife sees one in the house, she screams like a murderer has entered.
He's a coach.
I mean, yeah, like it goes without saying. If we don't get road graders back, I'm gonna be absolutely on somebody's neck all off season.
Yeah.
Listen, guys.
Yeah, we heard Lou's gonna be punching babies. We don't, do something.
It's not the first time.
That's it. Thanks for those questions, Latoya, Billingsley, Lance, Hunter, from
Happy Ephraim.
Yeah, Ephraim.
Dan
the man.
Shouts out to you guys. Thanks for turning in late with us. So
Bob Rutherford.
Yeah, Bob Rutherford. Thanks for tuning in late.
Good. Bob's the man.
Hey, we're excited about this draft. We're excited about Bama football, but most important, I want you to be excited about turning the Bama Center Network. We got all other shows coming up. We've got Crimson Dynasty tomorrow. Dan's on. Is it Dan? What's the name of your show? Rest of your shows?
Don't do that, man. It's Crimson Dynasty. Crimson Dynasty.
Right, Crimson Dynasty. I was just trying to shout out all the other shows. But tune in to the Bama Center.
Oh, you talking about late night with Miss Bertha?
Tune in to the Bama Center Network. We're working on getting that show with Miss Bertha. Listen, so y'all know how to follow the cast. Follow the cast around. You see our handles on the bottom. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Follow us. And we like to end on those 2 words that we love. RTR, roll tide.
Roll daggum tide. And we don't give
Blitz,
a piss.
Bama Blitz.
About number the tide.